Good morning. Thank you for joining us in the National Transportation Safety Board's webinar. This webinar is in the support of the release of the Special Investigation Report on the Collision Avoidance Technologies. To submit questions, please do so through the Questions feature. We wanted to present some of the main points of this SIR, titled The Use of Forward Collision Avoidance Systems to Prevent and Mitigate Rear-End Crashes. A bit mouthful, so we can just view it as rear-end crashes and collision avoidance systems. Now on to the first part, which is rear-end crashes. As you already know, they are very common. They represent nearly half of all two-vehicle crashes on the US roadways, averaging about 4,500 each day. While only a small proportion of those crashes are fatal, as is the case with most other crashes, they do produce a large number of injuries. During the 2 years for which we examined the data in this report, there have been nearly 3,500 fatalities and more than a million injuries resulting from rear-end crashes. Huge numbers. But the good news is that we have an opportunity to do something about them. And of course, we do investigate such crashes. And being the NTSB, we tend to investigate those on the extreme end. And over the last 3 calendar years, we investigated 9 rear-end crashes, which resulted in 28 fatalities and in which 90 people were injured. Those crashes involved a total of 49 vehicles, and 6 of the striking vehicles were truck tractors. In each of these crashes, the driver of the striking vehicle failed to notice the stopped or slowed traffic ahead in time to brake or produce some other evasive action. And the reasons for that failure varied, from driver inattentiveness, fatigue, distraction, unsafe speed, and limited visibility. And these varied reasons for drivers' failure to notice the slowed traffic ahead bring us to the second component of this report: collision avoidance systems, as one possible answer for drivers' failure to notice the stopped or slowed traffic ahead. Collision avoidance systems would be effective even when the driver is tired, talking on a cell phone, or mind-wandering. And today's systems are also effective during limited visibility, as was the case during the chain crash that we investigated in Paynes Prairie, Florida. The NTSB as a safety agency has a long history of advocating various collision avoidance technologies, issuing the first recommendation pertaining to these technologies 2 decades ago. In 2001, we produced a special investigation report on rear-end crashes and collision prevention technologies, in which we issued 10 recommendations, some of which called for the development of performance standards for collision warning systems in both passenger and commercial vehicles, and also a recommendation to NHTSA to require all new commercial vehicles to be equipped with collision warning systems. Over the last 2 decades, the NTSB has issued 12 recommendations pertaining to collision warning and autonomous emergency braking systems. When it comes to the progress of the recommendations that we made in 2001, unfortunately the progress can only be described as very slow. While NHTSA has finalized the performance standards for collision warning systems in passenger vehicles, no analogous standards exist for commercial vehicles, and these systems are still not mandated on new commercial vehicles. At the same time, since 2001, there have been considerable advancements in the collision prevention technologies. Collision warning systems are much more accurate and capable today. Autonomous emergency braking systems have shown to be very effective and completely removing the cost of driver's response time. Additionally, some systems are capable of detecting bicyclists and even pedestrians. The development and the advancements in the collision avoidance systems have been accompanied by considerable testing and field research. And you're all very familiar with this data, so I won't spend much time talking about this. While the size of the effect may differ, the direction is always the same. These systems are beneficial. And the benefits are the greatest when the collision warning and autonomous emergency braking systems are combined. So the research consistently shows that the benefits are there, but how good could these systems potentially be? The NTSB has conducted predicted benefits analysis study to determine how many lives could have been saved had the vehicles been equipped with these systems. There are a few caveats with this. We assume the perfect system, a system that would always be able to detect the forward conflict and in time to either alert the driver or to initiate autonomous braking. Also, potentially preventable fatalities did not include those that occurred in crashes in which the driver was asleep, unconscious, changing lanes, merging, or due to mechanical defects. As you can see, the potential of these systems is very high, and we aren't that far from this number considering the quality of some of today's systems. Also, when I say preventable fatalities, this does not indicate that the CAS could prevent all these crashes, because even mitigating a crash could make a difference between the fatality and an injury. The life-saving potential of the collision avoidance systems is huge, but this potential can only be fulfilled with broad deployment. So exactly how prevalent are these systems in today's vehicles? When it comes to heavy vehicles, about 10% of truck tractors are equipped with collision warning or autonomous emergency braking systems. This is not a great number, but there are positive signs. Many fleets are seeing the benefits of these systems, both in terms of safety and also reduced cost. So those fleets are transitioning. When purchasing new vehicles, they tend to be equipped with the latest generation collision avoidance systems. When it comes to the passenger vehicles, at the first glance the numbers look quite decent. But when examining the number of vehicles in which collision avoidance systems come as standard equipment, the numbers are quite dispiriting. A good number of manufacturers offer some type of collision avoidance systems on their vehicles. However, they are almost exclusively offered as optional equipment, and even then frequently packaged with other equipment, even non-safety features. Additionally, collision avoidance systems at the current time are installed only at the factory, which can represent another challenge. Even if a manufacturer does offer collision avoidance system as a standalone option, those vehicles don't very frequently find their way onto dealership lots, which contributes to the lack of public awareness about these systems. Now I have also talked about collision avoidance systems. They are effective today, continually improving, and have a very high potential. So which approach would provide the collision avoidance systems the best opportunity to reduce rear-end crashes? Our previous recommendations to mandate these systems in commercial vehicles were not successful. And while we know that the benefits of these systems are considerable, those benefits will remain only potential without widespread deployment. This time we have decided not to go to NHTSA to mandate these systems in all new vehicles, but rather to go directly to vehicle manufacturers. And we are asking that passenger, truck tractor, motor coach vehicle manufacturers install collision avoidance systems on all new vehicles as standard equipment. So this approach of going directly to you, the vehicle manufacturers, to install collision avoidance systems as standard equipment can only be successful with appropriate incentives and by removing potential hurdles. We know that many of you have a very high internal commitment to safety regardless of any mandates, but we are also aware of issues that can hamper this approach. The first issue pertains to performance standards. Since NHTSA does have finalized performance standards for collision warning systems in passenger vehicles, at this time we are asking the vehicle manufacturers to install collision avoidance systems that at the minimum have collision warning as standard equipment. And when NHTSA, hopefully soon, finalizes the performance standards for autonomous emergency braking, to also install these systems as standard equipment. The second issue pertains to the NCAP. Based on the current structure, Two vehicles of the same class can receive the same 5-star safety rating even if one vehicle has the latest generation collision avoidance systems and other safety features and another has none. This structure gives vehicle manufacturers very little incentive to equip their vehicles with these systems, since consumers cannot use the 5-star safety rating to differentiate the vehicles with CAS from those without such system. Currently, the only recognition that the vehicles with CAS do receive is in the form of little icons that appear only on the NCAP website and that are placed next to the vehicle's 5-star safety rating. One of those icons is for a collision warning system, circled in red on the screen. These icons indicate the presence of safety technologies that NHTSA recommends. Recently, NHTSA has announced an intent to also recommend autonomous emergency braking systems, which means a new icon but appearing only on the NCAP website and indicating only the presence of such system. Based on the considerable testing done by various Euro NCAP groups and by the IIHS here, we know that some systems perform much better than others. When looking at various NCAPs around the world, we see that quite a few of them have either incorporated ratings for CAS with those of crashworthiness or have developed a separate rating for various collision avoidance technologies. And those ratings don't only indicate the presence of those systems, but provide a grade, indicating to consumers which systems are adequate and which are very good. We believe that such ratings can do for collision avoidance systems what the 5-star safety rating has done for crashworthiness. Vehicles' performance on the crashworthiness tests has been a crucial piece of information for consumers when making the decision on which new vehicle to purchase, as safety is very high on the consumer list of demands. As a result, today nearly all passenger vehicles have 4 or 5-star crashworthiness rating. So today we will be making a recommendation to NHTSA to expand the NCAP to include a graded rating for the performance of collision avoidance systems. Additionally, to also present such rating on the vehicle's window sticker. We wanted to keep the presentation short, so I will summarize. The goal of this special investigation report is the prevention of rear-end crash fatalities. We do see the collision avoidance systems as a solution. As these systems are effective today, they're continually improving, and they have a potential to prevent most fatalities resulting from rear-end crashes. Furthermore, collision avoidance systems as vehicle-based technology is perfectly poised for future integration with connected vehicles technology, especially in the early stages of deployment when only a small proportion of vehicles on the roadways would be connected. But to have an opportunity to be effective, collision avoidance systems have to be present in vehicles, and that can be accomplished through incentives to the vehicle manufacturers and by educating consumers.